Eileen Gu has messaged for her 15-year-old self over switching from US to China. Eileen Gu recently reflected on a pivotal moment in her career, sharing a message to her 15-year-old self about the decision to switch her competitive allegiance from the United States to China. The 22-year-old, who grew up in California and is a student at Stanford University, made history at the Milano Cortina Games as the most decorated freestyle skier, winning 2 silver medals and a gold. Her decision to compete for her mother's homeland drew significant criticism, but Gu has maintained that she does not regret the choice, cementing her place among the most successful Olympians in history. Meanwhile, Team USA star Alyssa Liu has issued a frightening plea after being chased to her car. In an Instagram post, Gu said, "I can look back now, at 22, and tell 12-year-old Eileen that there are now terrain parks full of little girls, who will never doubt their place in the sport. I can tell 15-year-old me that there are now millions of girls who have started skiing since then, in China and worldwide. A lot of people won't understand or believe that I made a decision to create the greatest amount of positive impact on the world stage that I could, at this age, given my interests and passions. 3 golds and 6 medals later, I can confidently say was once a dream is now a reality. Thank you for all the support this Olympics. It was such a dream to compete in beautiful Italy." She also opened up on her decision to compete for China. "When I was 15, I announced my decision to compete for China," Gu wrote. "At the time, I had spent 1 season on the US team, and had been lucky enough to meet my heroes in person. I am forever grateful for that season, and continue to maintain a close relationship with the team." A letter across time, Eileen Gu's message to her 15-year-old self. If time could fold like a sheet of paper, Eileen Gu would probably slip a letter through the crease, back to the moment when she was 15 years old. That was the year everything changed. It was the year she made a decision that would reshape her career, ignite international debate, and transform the future of freestyle skiing in China. In that quiet conversation between her present self and the teenager she once was, there would be reassurance, honesty, and perhaps a little amazement. Because sometimes the choices that seem most uncertain at 15 end up defining the rest of your life. The moment of decision. At 15, life rarely feels simple. For Eileen Gu, it certainly wasn't. She was a teenage skiing prodigy born in California, raised in San Francisco, and trained on the snowy slopes of Lake Tahoe. Her life was deeply American. But it was also deeply Chinese. Her mother, Yang Jiyu, had immigrated from Beijing, and every summer Eileen spent time in China with family, speaking Mandarin and absorbing the culture that shaped half of her identity. 2 worlds. 2 cultures. 1 young athlete standing at a crossroads. That year, she made the announcement that would echo across the sports world. She would switch from Team USA and compete for China in international skiing competitions. For a teenager, it was an enormous decision. Most 15-year-olds are choosing classes or hobbies. Eileen Gu was choosing a nation. If her present self could speak to that younger girl today, she might begin with something simple. Take a deep breath. The world is going to talk about this decision more than you expect. The weight of criticism. The moment Eileen announced her decision, opinions flooded in from everywhere. Some praised her courage. Others questioned her loyalty. Many simply didn't understand. Being born and raised in the United States while choosing to represent China placed her at the center of a geopolitical conversation she never asked to lead. At 15, that kind of scrutiny can feel overwhelming. In the years that followed, Gu faced criticism, online attacks, and even hostility in person. But if her older self could send a message back through time, it would probably sound like this. You will hear a lot of noise. But the noise is not the truth. Because beneath the controversy was something much simpler. A dream. A dream bigger than medals. When Eileen Gu made her decision, it wasn't just about winning competitions. It was about possibility. 4 years she had spent summers in China helping organize training camps for skiing and trampoline practice. She saw something that many people outside the country did not. The sport was still young there. Few people knew about freestyle skiing, and even fewer girls believed it was a sport for them. To her, that wasn't a limitation. It was an opportunity. Representing China meant she could introduce freestyle skiing to millions of new athletes and inspire young girls who had never imagined themselves on snow-covered mountains. If she could speak to her younger self, she might say, "You're not leaving something behind. You're building something new." The power of identity. One of the most fascinating parts of Eileen Gu's story is how she views identity. To many people, nationality is simple and fixed. But for someone who grows up between cultures, identity can be layered and complex. Gu has often explained it in a way that feels natural to her. When she is in America, she feels American. When she is in China, she feels Chinese. That dual identity is not a contradiction. It is a bridge. Her decision wasn't about rejecting one country for another. Instead, it reflected the reality of her life. She belonged to both worlds. If she could talk to her younger self, she might say, "You don't have to choose who you are. You are allowed to be all of it." The road ahead. Of course, the teenage Eileen Gu could not fully imagine what would happen next. The Olympics. The medals. The global fame. Yet the journey that followed would prove that her decision carried enormous impact. At the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics, Gu captured the world's attention by winning gold in freestyle skiing's big air and halfpipe events, along with a silver medal in slopestyle. Her performances were breathtaking, not just because of the technical difficulty of the tricks she landed, but because of what they represented. A new era for winter sports in China. Millions watched. Millions were inspired. And somewhere, perhaps, thousands of young girls decided they wanted to try skiing for the first time. Looking back with pride. Years later, reflecting on her journey, Gu expressed a powerful message to her younger self. When she was 15, she believed that representing China could help expand the sport and create opportunities for others. Looking back now, she can see the results. Terrain parks in China are now filled with young girls learning to ski, girls who never doubted they belonged in the sport. Millions of new participants have joined winter sports in China since the Beijing Olympics. The dream that once lived only in a teenager's imagination has become reality. That realization carries a special kind of pride. Not the pride of personal achievement, but the pride of impact.